So my friend Chris and I just finished up on a video we've been working on for his channel about the Star Wars Burger King collaboration. But we weren't done talking about Star Wars. So sit back and enjoy.
So Joey,
Yes.
you have helped me so much with this Star Wars Burger King video on my channel. Plug Crisscross Media. You helped me with so much of the research, and obviously with this thumbnail that I believe is being beautifully drawn behind our heads. Uh, Talk to me about like your relationship with this film or your relationship with Star Wars, and like, was there anything that you found interesting, that, like, really shocked you or, like, surprised you when you were doing your research for this film?
God. Okay, so like growing up for me, at least, I was not a Star Wars fan at all. Like it was
Turn
it
the video
was
off right now. Just turn this end it. It's
okay.
we're done. Neither
And it's over.
was I, though. I
And
got
it's
into it
over.
I got into it with episode 3.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so go ahead. That's interesting.
But yeah, I wasn't a Star Wars fan at all when Episode 3 was coming out. I mean, I knew of Darth Vader, I knew of Yoda, but that was really it. Like my uncle was a huge Star Wars fan, so that's where I just kind of knew it from. But when Episode 3 was coming out, these promotions, dude, Star Wars was everywhere.
Changed the game.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, we've talked about how these promotions are kind of worked into our pop culture zeitgeist today,
Mhm.
but it's not the same as it was back in what 2005.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting because, we talk about the film promotion, and I mean, arguably you could say that episode 1 and episode 2 were also huge. Episode 3 was just enormous. I would say that at the age that I was in 8th grade. I was finally able to appreciate what Star Wars was.
Hmm.
And I think arguably it's also the best of the trilogy, and it carries that bridge into the original trilogy. And I remember seeing parts of I had the special edition VHSs when they came out in 97, 98 when they were at for home release. And for me, it was finally the time for me to say, okay, I get why people love this. I remember after my 8th grade dance, we would always go to this, like, after a school dance, we would go to this local restaurant that was like a 5-minute walk away. And I remember my 8th grade final dance. We're all like emotional. We're all excited for what the summer's going to bring. Um, and then right outside of this restaurant, all the guys brought lightsabers, and it was like that scene from Attack of the Clones. We were all fighting each other, and it was like a cultural phenomenon. In the video that I did, I talked about how it felt like it was a holiday, and it really was. It was everywhere, and it was such an exciting time to be a kid and a Star Wars fan, and it's so beautiful to see how that's translated 20 years later
Yeah.
with this newer film, and how it's still such an impactful film, and it even seeing it on the big screen again, which I believe did you see it on the big screen?
Oh yeah, it was so. I don't know. Seeing it on the big screen, like I said, I don't remember if I saw it on the big screen as a kid.
Mhm.
But God, when when that opening crawl hit, I was like, I really miss Star Wars in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's like the opening crawl, and even
Yeah.
the 20th Century Fox fanfare.
Mm-hmm. That was,
I
yeah,
It's such like it goes so in tandem with Star Wars, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, I guess, for future releases of these films. But um, I didn't know what to expect because I've seen the movie so many times, but I was so shocked by how I was literally on the edge of my seat and just absorbing every moment of this film, and also like noticing things that I've never seen before, and it's weird
Yeah.
because I've seen it so many times, and there's memes and things like
Oh,
that.
dude.
But I
Oh,
was
sorry. Obi-Wan standing at the ship. The way he's standing in the ship, I never noticed it until watching
yeah.
it in theaters. I was just like, "What?" Or there's
Well,
little
I have a
things. There's little things from Palpatine too, where I'm like, "Is that always there?"
Yeah. It's so interesting, and I have to ask though, the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, because I watched it and I had always assumed that Padme had known that Obi-Wan was on the ship with her.
Hmm.
And it was just like, I will bring him out at some point, and they will, Anakin and Kenobi are going to have some sort of a conversation. Um, Kenobi standing there like an angry dad, I think really aggravated everything. But with Padme, this is the first time I watched it with a different lens, and I'm like, I asked myself, did Padme know that he was on the ship?
I don't think so at all. Cause
I think that he had implied that he wanted to, or like, where's Anakin? And
Mhm.
when she had left, I'm pretty sure he snuck on.
Yeah, you can see him sneak on the ship, which
That
also
blew
I
my mind.
never noticed that, and I'm like, wait, what? I don't even remember him sneaking into the closet.
Which
There's
what's
there's
what?
there's like a moment where Obi-Wan like goes into a closet, like he hides away in the ship, and I was like, I don't
Oh, okay.
remember that. I don't know why I
See,
don't remember that.
as a kid and just like in the back of my memory, I just assumed that he's like, okay, Padme, I'm gonna hide, and then at the right time, I will reveal myself. But now watching it, I'm like, wait a second, I don't think she knew, and this guy just literally snuck on. And okay, I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. Arguably, I think one of the best casting decisions for the prequel trilogy.
Agreed.
He's so good. But so many of the problems that happen in the
It's
galaxy is because of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He's the true villain of Star Wars, dude.
He
He
is.
he's the reason Padme's dead. I mean,
He- yeah.
if
I think, Anakin went to kill the separatists on Mustafar,
yeah,
and those eyes were Sith gold, red, yellow. When Padme came, he was Anakin Skywalker again. He was no longer Darth Vader. And the moment that Obi-Wan shows up, everything is aggravated.
yeah,
And he also allowed him to survive two times. Kenobi could have killed Anakin, or Darth Vader, so to speak, twice. Once at the lava bed, and then again in the Kenobi series, you have Darth Vader who's committed so many acts of terror at this point, and Kenobi, which by the way, I like that show. I think it has some flaws. It could have been, better. Fun show. He could have easily killed him again. And he's like, okay, then my brother's like truly dead. And he's like, I'll see you later, and walked away. You're like, what is going on? Like, why would you not kill him?
Obi-Wan Kenobi, dude. I don't know. What a
You gotta love
fun,
him.
what a fun character in the Star Wars mythos.
Now, do you have a favorite scene from the film?
Oh God. Hmm. What's yours?
You know, it's tough. I think the one, obviously, the final lightsaber battle is absolutely
Yeah,
incredible. Um,
that's why I
as
feel
a
like I
kid,
can't mention it.
yeah, and that's why I don't want to say that. I have to say the opening scene is one of the best Star Wars opening scenes
Yeah.
ever created. It just them working in like two dancers, like two ballet dancers, in this choreographed, beautiful fight with the buzz droids. That opening music when it hits, it just really thrusts you into the Clone Wars, and I think that's why the animated series works so well, because there's a lot of that. But that opening scene's great. As a kid, I really liked Kashyyyk. I really liked when like the big Wookiee like throws on that like sticky grenade. He's like, "Ah," and he jumps off, and I thought that was so cool to see Kashyyyk finally. And correct me if I'm wrong, or I don't know exactly, so I may be speaking out of turn here, but I believe that before the Ewoks were going to be a thing, it was going to be a planet of Wookiees. So to
Oh,
see
that's cool.
that finally happen, and I love that Yoda had a special relationship with them. So I always liked that planet and that world, and then also talking about just the video games like Battlefront 2 had such a cool battle map on Kashyyyk as well on that beach, kind of like the reminded me of like the storming Normandy
Hmm.
battle, the beaches of Normandy. It was just cool and it seemed like those big tankers come up and oh, it was just visually. I think it still holds up. And there's a lot of like visual language that I've maybe James Cameron was inspired by for Pandora and Avatar. So yeah, I think like out of all the movies, I think this film just really showcases and flexes the artistic ability of the team at Lucasfilm at the time.
Um, I think okay, my favorite scene, it's not the opening scene, but it's when they get on the ship.
Mm.
Yeah, it's the entire interactions between Anakin and Obi-Wan and R2 trying to figure out the elevator and everything to get the Palpatine. But then
Mm-hmm.
also the Order 66 scene.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of it.
As tragic as that is, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, well, the whole movie's my favorite, but obviously the Darth Plagueis the Wise opera scene. Hey, it's memed, but like, my God, like the
Yeah.
such brilliant acting by Ian McDermott, and the the music, the score, the way it hits, um, that whole scene to me is brilliant, and I would argue that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire saga, honestly.
I also like
Um,
Palpatine and Yoda's fight. I think
yeah,
that is a fun fight.
and Palpatine is so strong in this film.
Yeah.
I really think that the movie wouldn't work as well had Palpatine not been as involved as he was, even though he needed to be. But it works as well as it does because Ian McDermott really just chews up every scene. He stands out so well. Um, also, to go back to what you were saying earlier about the interactions in the beginning of the film, I loved how throughout the movie, um, Anakin is actually very protective of R2D2.
Very, yeah.
And whenever there is a moment where he's being teased or something, he's very protective of him. And I don't think I ever really picked up on how much he really loved that droid, which I have to bring up. There was the novelization. I don't know if you've
Oh
heard this
yeah, I
before.
saw that.
Yeah, um, where Padme interacts with Anakin before he goes to Mustafar, and you see this interaction with C3PO and R2D2, and you hear R2D2 beep a couple times, and then C3PO essentially alludes to, well, he's very stressed or something like
Hmm.
that. And in the novelization, they indicate what R2D2 says, and basically, um, it's like, yeah, Anakin doesn't talk to me anymore.
Besides the movie, like
Mm.
what other promos at least do you remember that they did for like whether it was like Pop Tarts or candy or they did so much for this movie. It was
Hmm.
everywhere. Like
I mean,
I remember the Jar Jar Binks lollipops. But was that for
well,
episode 1?
that was an episode one item.
Cuz
Yeah,
that one's yeah.
they should have had like a Anakin Skywalker with the same tongue. That would have sold so well. You know, I remember very strongly the Lego promotions at that time.
Mhm.
Star Wars Legos. I mean, it feels like it's never died. It's just always been this constant force, pun intended. But the Lego game that came out
Yeah.
during that time, I remember just being so excited for that. And I think it was like I think that was the first game I ever 100%ed at the time. I also just really liked like you're saying, like I remember Kellogg's, I remember M&M's doing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, oh my God, like the Hasbro toys. And there was these little toys. I feel like the world has forgotten about. I believe they were called Atatix, and they're they're like maybe 2 inches tall on a base, like an amiibo.
Uh-huh.
In fact, we should maybe do a little video on this. And they had like these little action features, like they would swing, and there was an entire battle strategy game that you could play with other people. And there
Huh.
was a collectability feature for them, but also a um, like battle game. So I remember being so into those. And then I remember like I mean, obviously Burger King was a thing, and oh, and then the Clone Wars Cartoon Network 2D animation show that was like meant as a prologue precursor to this that fed into episode 3. I just remember like that those being promoted like on catalogs and like the TV guide when that was a thing. Or maybe it still is, but when it was a very popular. And then okay, last thing, I'll stop rambling and let you take the floor. But oh my God, the Tops trading card,
Mm-hmm.
collectible cards. I would go to Blockbuster with my dad and my brother, and I have it all in a binder still in my closet right now. And oh my God, I love those things so flippin' much. Um, I don't know if you've ever collected like movie collectible Tops cards or anything like that, but that was the first ones I've ever. Those the first cards I really ever collected outside of Pokemon, and that sparked many years and many dollars spent on movie cards afterwards. But again, this movie to me really sparked a lot of firsts for me, and yeah, I'm curious to see what was something that you know like experienced during that time.
I really remember the Burger King promotion of the movie.
Hmm.
And then like you said, the M&Ms. I remember the M&Ms being everywhere. Didn't they have like little displays in stores? Like, you know how they have
Hmm.
like those molded like red M&M? Like they have those ones that they kind of like fill with the candy. I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
statues that have like
yeah,
they're hollowed out, right?
yeah. I feel like they had like the yellow M&M as
As
Darth
Vader.
Vader. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
I remember seeing that at like Safeway all the time. Um, I was trying to remember, did they really promote this movie? Because I don't remember much of the promos. Like, I remember the commercials. Like, I remember the Lego commercial, how they were like, the battle on Mustafar and Anakin Skywalker turned into
How
Darth Vader.
they ruined the film for
Yeah,
everybody. That big reveal.
but
Yeah.
I'm like, with how they marketed this movie, did they market it as Anakin's turn to Darth Vader? Or was it more of like, Vader's gonna be in this movie? Because I don't remember that.
Hmm. You know, it's interesting you say that because I know that with a lot of the promo arts and posters and things,
Because
they
Vader's
always
there.
had Anakin standing next to Vader,
Yeah.
almost as if they were two different characters. Now, obviously, if you're a fan of the franchise and the saga, you knew what was going to happen. But to the outside viewer that maybe likes Star Wars but just doesn't know the mythology and the lore, I think they were trying to hold that secret back a little bit, and they kind of were acting as if they were two separate characters, at least in the early promos. Um,
Okay.
oh, I mean, okay, let me ask you this. Do you know what movie the very, very first trailer was attached to? And this was back when, like, now I go to the movies, I love to see the trailers, but they're, they're on the internet,
Yeah.
and obviously the trailer was on the internet and it was like a big deal at the time, but it was the first way you can ever see it was to see this one movie. Do you know without having to Google it
Oh
or
God.
search it?
I'm guessing it's a Fox movie, right? I'm
Nope.
trying. No.
Mm-mm. I went with my friends, um, my friend and his brother, the first day this film dropped to see not only the movie but to see the trailer. And I remember seeing the teaser poster with Anakin looking over his shoulder and the cape made the Vader helmet.
Yeah.
You're familiar with that
That
poster?
poster's crazy. I looked it up
Oh,
right before we started recording, and I was like, oh my
I love it.
god.
That's one I really want to own and put on my wall. But do you know what film it was?
No.
It was The Incredibles.
What?
And it came out, I believe it came out November 1st, 2004, because I remember Halloween, me and my buddy Kevin at the time, um, he was over for Halloween, and then the next day we went with him and his brother Matt, and we went and we saw The Incredibles, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." And
That's
I remember like for the first time just being like, I need to see the Star Wars movie opening day. Like I need to. Um, so yeah, The
that's crazy.
Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
Isn't that cool?
I wouldn't have expected a Disney movie. I
I
mean,
mean,
it makes
now it's
sense. I mean, it makes sense. Like, The Incredibles was a big movie when it came out, and it's a
I
Pixar
bel
movie, so you're gonna want to slap it on there. But like,
right.
no, that's no, I wouldn't have expected that at all.
Maybe there was some sort of like, a symbiotic relationship. I know George was very close with Steve Jobs, and Steve
Hmm.
Jobs was very, very much, you know, obviously integrated with the
Yeah,
whole
and
Pixar
also like Star
world.
Tours at the Disney parks and everything. So
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. So,
no, that's
yeah,
crazy.
The Incredibles, and it's I was again amazing movie, an amazing trailer. So, gosh, I mean, I talk about it, and it feels like it was yesterday when all these things happened, and it shocks me how it's been 20 years since this movie came out, and again, like part of it just has never left me, and it almost feels like it's just as relevant today, which it is, as it was back then. But I really am happy and grateful that I was alive during that time and had the opportunity to experience the movie at this magnitude. And I feel like the franchise as a whole hasn't really experienced this type of hype since.
Yeah,
I think Force Awakens was maybe the closest.
I no, I yeah, I think it was Force Awakens, if anything, because that
Mhm.
I don't know, there was a different energy when that movie came out that has
Yeah.
not been felt in a long time.
And that's not to say that there haven't been any good Star Wars projects since then, but in terms of marketing, I feel like Disney was like, we need to go all in, and The Force Awakens definitely, excuse me, got that treatment. And then slowly, slowly, I think to me, the saddest thing is, we go to a Target store or something, and
Hmm.
I remember for so many years, especially during the prequel years, the toy aisle would literally have like, the action figure section, but then there would just be a Star Wars
Yeah,
section, like the entire row. And now I feel like it's a tiny sliver.
I
And
remember. Yeah, I remember that.
it hurts. Like, I'm like, man, like this brand, this IP, it's still strong and relevant, but I feel like they, obviously I think the industry as a whole in terms of toys and stuff like that's another conversation, but film promotion, toy tie-ins, George Lucas really pushed the envelope and really, I mean, obviously he benefited from it, owning the,
Yeah,
merchandising rights and things like that, but there was just such an excitement, and I remember. I'll ask you. Did you ever go on like the Star Wars shop, like the website?
no.
There was an online on StarWars.com. It was a dedicated online shop, just for Star Wars. Now they have like this the Disney
Yeah, yeah,
store shop
yeah.
and online or whatever. But there were so many cool things, and they had like the computer company Alienware had um, like a episode 3 style like Darth Vader computer,
That's so cool.
different like appliances and things, and um, my God, like the Master Replica lightsabers, the Force Effects lightsabers were like really coming out and prominent during that time, and my brother and I were getting all those. I bought, and you know this because you've been to my place, my Darth Vader screen accurate episode 3 um, Ruby's like costume that I have on a mannequin.
Yeah.
It's with me everywhere I go, and I absolutely love that thing. And I look at it and it just reminds me of that time, that era, and how I had to own that thing. Um, so yeah, episode three. It's one of those films that I think transcends the screen, and if you lived during that time, you really understand why.
Yeah. I mean, dude, just even walking into Toys R Us and they'd have the giant display up front right when you walk in. They would have the giant
Hmm.
sign and it was just Star Wars everywhere. Like okay, like I said, I growing up I was not a Star Wars kid. Like that was not my thing cuz I would remember going to Target and going to the toy section and being like I gotta skip the Star Wars aisle because I don't want to see all the Star Wars toys. Because it was like DC, Marvel, and Star Wars were on one aisle,
Hmm.
and then everything else was on the other one. But
Hmm.
that one wall was just all Star Wars, and it was crazy. Um, I really thought that with Force Awakens we were gonna get something like that again, and then didn't happen. It's so weird. Also,
It Yeah.
I was gonna say like the perception of the prequel trilogy over time and how it's changed from being
Hmm.
like something that was so looked down upon from the
Hmm.
Star Wars community to now being like, I mean, just at least episode 3 in general being like the one that's looked back on so fondly. And it's like growing up loving that movie because like even though I wasn't a Star Wars fan, I saw this movie. Like
Hmm.
I was like, this is amazing. Like I was dressed as Anakin, like I mean, years later in like sixth grade, but like I don't know, just
Oh, no, 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 Joey, you were Anakin recently.
oh, yeah, also recently, yeah.
Okay, okay. I remember that. I remember that. You look great with the hair and everything.
But it's like I don't know. It's so weird because you know when you're growing up, you're really not hearing the negativity on the internet. You're like, well, the
No.
internet wasn't even really a thing then. Like it was, but it wasn't as big
Social
as it
media
is. Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, social
wasn't a thing.
media.
There was forums and things
Yeah,
like that, and they were so niche, and they were kind of in their own little corners.
but now with all of social media being everywhere, it's
Yeah.
like it's so different. So it's really interesting growing up and being like, I love that movie, and then hopping online, people being like, I fucking hate those movies. It's like, oh
Yeah.
god.
It's very interesting because and I'm not one of those people that just hates Disney Star Wars 100%. I will admit that, the Lucas era of the six films are peak.
Mhm.
Um, but I felt like when Disney first took control, they were really burying those prequel films. There was very little reference. The merchandise was very scarce.
Yeah,
Um, they were almost acting like they were ashamed of those movies, and things have drastically changed. Now,
it's crazy.
you don't hear that much stuff about the sequel trilogy, which is really funny to me. And Disney's pushing out the prequels and trying to make references and attempts to, make them relevant again. Obviously, we just had episode three in theaters.
Hmm.
You had Aiden back in, we had the Kenobi series, which was, very much dipped into the prequel era of storytelling and mythology. The Ahsoka show, there's now like a celebration about it. And like you were saying, like the generation like us, we grew up with it. We celebrate those films in a very different way than the OGs. Um, and it makes me so happy to see that the conversation has very much shifted. And also, in all honesty, like to those listening who do like the sequel trilogy, I think there's like things about it that I like. But I think that now people have a reference point to be like, oh, that's a bad Star Wars movie. Those weren't bad Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And I will also argue um, that there was something really beautiful about the fact that those were George's stories, and I love that George made those contained six films. And there's a part of me that always hopes that somehow he will return in some form and make another Star Wars movie or be consulted in some sort of way. But I'm very happy that he was able to conclude his story in a very satisfying way. And here we are, 20 years later, talking about it like it just came out. I mean, technically it did. It was in theaters, but
Yeah.
um,
Um,
yeah, it just still feels relevant. It still feels new, and it's still celebrated, and it just makes me so happy. And I, you and I have just worked on this video together. I don't see this being the last Star Wars video, and certainly I don't think it's
mm-mm.
gonna be the last Episode 3 video that we do on the channel. Um, just because it's fun to talk about, and there's so many things to take from it and talk about.
There's so much to the prequel trilogy that could be. I mean, just the whole influence of it on pop culture is something we could talk about. But yeah, shit, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well,
um,
I think this might be a good place to
yeah,
ramp up this
yeah.
conversation. I think that Joey, if you had fun, because I certainly had fun, I want to do more of these. And to those listening who came from Crisscross video, or to those that just saw this video and are wondering what are we, talking about, what the thumbnail is for. We worked together very closely on the video that I posted in regards to Star Wars Episode 3 and the Burger King promotions and the watches and the toys at the time and what that meant to me. And we are definitely cooking up some more thumbnails that I'm very excited to show everybody, and your incredible artwork, which again, I have to say has evolved so much in the last couple of years.
Thanks, man.
And we're celebrating Star Wars, but I really want to celebrate you as an artist and your return also to YouTube. So, I'm very excited to see the reactions of people when they watch the other videos that you and I are researching and working on. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun ride, man. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a fun ride.
we got some very niche topics coming up, so definitely go over there. Go over to Chris's channel. If you didn't come here from over there, go check out the video we worked on. It's fantastic. And like I said, we have so much more working that we're working on right now. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe to both of our channels and check out the cool content we have cooking up.
Is there anything that we can kind of, for those who are here that sat through this whole conversation, is there anything we can kind of tease about maybe one of the videos? Do you
Ooh,
think we should?
I think so. If you sat through
Yeah,
this entire video, I feel like it's a little treat at the end, right?
that's what I'm thinking. I have to say that if you're willing to catch them all, you may have caught yourself a hint at what the next video project we're working on. But we're working on a bunch.
It's
And also
marvelous.
catch them all. Hey, thank you guys for listening to us talk about Star Wars. And I would honestly love to hear if you guys have any connection to this film or any Star Wars film. Um, what was your memories during this time? And if you ended up seeing Star Wars Episode 3 for the very first time in theaters last week or last couple weeks ago when it came out, or if you were introduced to it a couple of years ago or whenever it was, what are your memories about it? And just let us know in the comments, and we would like to have some conversations with you over there.
But yeah, guys, well, thanks for checking out the video, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye, guys.